Yeah, here we are with the Invisible Forest Talks. So, Mark, would you want to say a few things about who you are so people who don't know you can have a little idea about what you do?
Okay, well, my name's Mark. Originally, I was a graphic designer with Spiral Tribe. Now I'm kind of multi-purpose, I suppose, working with you guys on the Invisible Forest, also with Gruta, doing various bits and bobs on occasion. And I'm spending a lot of my time now writing. At the moment, with the Invisible Forest and projects around that, we've been doing multiple kind of arts-based ideas, bringing them into being, doing a lot of costume, doing a lot of prop making, doing mask making at the moment. The list goes on, and I mean, as fast as we can come up with ideas, we're bringing them into reality. So it's one of the great pleasures of working with you guys.
Yes, thank you. So in this little cycle of Invisible Forest Talks, this year the theme we've picked is the idea of regeneration, because it's something that now for some reason is quite people talk about this a lot, like even in grants and funds, the European there's a European vision as well about regeneration of nature, and there's even funds for this, and I'm not too sure what it is, and I would like just to go, to talk a little bit about this possibility, because it's a theme that it's kind of hot at the moment. And I ask you first, with this in mind, how would you describe your relationship with nature as a whole? I know you've done a lot of stuff with actually hands-on, but in a very short sentence, if possible, how would you describe your relationship with nature?
At the moment, I would describe it as being fully conscious of being part of nature, if you want it just in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. So often, we're born into this kind of reality. If you're born into a city, for example, into the concrete construct, then sometimes it can take some years to actually realize that you are connected with everything. I've been very lucky in my life in that I've worked, as you say, mm-hmm. With nature, done a lot of permaculture and tree planting. So I feel that I've sort of gone through the initiation of literally getting my hands stuck into the earth and understanding how it all works. But I mean, really, when I say that, that's just a continuation of being a child, I mean, I was lucky enough when I was a kid to sort of run wild. And to be jumping into puddles and, making mud pies and doing all that kind of thing, climbing trees, it's all very important. And I don't think I've lost that side of things. So that, I think, is something that we should all really pay attention to, because with the moving baseline, with the kind of greenwashing, yep. Big corporations trying to retell the narrative as if somehow they are doing us some kind of good, as if they are saving the planet. We just have to be cautious of the stories they're trying to tell.
And so basically, also for your work as a graphic designer, I can imagine, and we've had this conversation, I think, in other contexts, but there's a lot of nature patterns inspired your graphics as well. Would you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I think everything I do is, going all the way back to sort of the early 90s when I was doing the graphics for the original Spiral Tribe sound system. People are always surprised when they find out they were pen and ink rather than generated on a computer. We couldn't afford computers back then, or computers didn't actually exist. I think they did, but they were the size of a planet. They were great, big, expensive things. So I've always felt very much that I was in connection with this sort of invisible geometry or invisible mathematics of nature. I was always very inspired by Islamic art and the kind of patterning and also the sort of psychedelic patterning, and then also things that would show themselves in nature. I'm very struck by patterning, but not decoration.
Yeah.
I really like to sort of pull the essence of nature out and simplify it and kind of make a motif which is representational rather than just decorating things with pretty patterns.
Yeah. And in terms of this theme of regeneration, is that how you say it in English? Regeneration. What do you think about this? Like, because for me it's a bit vague in a way that like nature is always regenerating somehow, isn't it? So how can we as humans help nature regenerate it herself? I don't know. I just wanted to bring this question out for you to say something about it if you want.
Yeah, I think we're on a tipping point now. I think we really have to be very conscious of what steps we take next. I think it's become clear now, especially with the world's last remaining superpower, the US, and their very clear agenda of extraction and oppression, not just of the planet but also of the people. And with the climate crisis, with the insect population in collapse, which of course is at the bottom of the food chain and will affect everything. Things have changed in my short lifetime already, and I think we have to really pay attention to that. There is this thing called the moving baseline in ecology, where we all get used to the fact that when we were kids there were more insects, there were more butterflies, there were more birds singing, but there's been a lot of studies recently that have been monitoring the sonic landscape, and it turns out that when you have a full ecosystem that's very healthy, all the different frequencies are full, whether it's with crickets and with frogs and with birds. There are all these little niches, but it turns out now that there are all these silences, there are all these holes. And so I think we as humans have to be very careful that we don't get distracted with not just our own lives, but our own problems, our own struggle to pay the rent and put food on the table. Yeah, we're overwhelmed with the problems that neoliberal capitalism has created. But at the same time, we need to remember that we are human animals, and there is no separating us from the nature that supports us, and that it is a living planet. And as I say, I am shocked to witness its demise just in the last few years. I can really see the difference. So I would encourage people to sort of try and give themselves more space to get out, connect with nature, and really give over some time, if they can possibly afford it, to try and genuinely regenerate, to take care with nature, rather than letting the corporations just paint things green and say they're putting money into regeneration, because of course they're not. It's just a load of bullshit. And
also, I mean, I was just looking now at these little bits of nature we have here now with, for instance, I think you say lawn, right? Like in the gardens of people's houses. There was also this trend, I think in the 50s in the US of A, with very clean green lawns with no flowers, no herbs, which created a decline in insects already, because the bees and all the other flies and whatever, mosquitoes and all the bugs were not, they didn't have any habitat to live in. So I've heard also this is a way to regenerate, is when if you just stop using toxic products in your garden, if you don't cut the what they call the weeds out. This is already something very powerful that one can do. It's a small thing. Just leave it there.
I mean, as I understand it, because I do, pay attention to the latest sort of scientific reports, the street lighting is really bad, because most insects are actually guided by the moon and their cycles. Their life cycles are lunar. and so this really disrupts everything, and they get exhausted and die. You know, not so long ago, 5-6 years ago, if there was a light on in the summer, there would be thousands of different insects swarming around it. Now, none.
Almost none. Yeah, it's awful.
None. I mean, I think I saw one moth the other day, which really took me by surprise. The other thing I didn't know as well, you mentioned it there, is the toxins. It's not just the toxins that they spray on the agriculture, the pesticides and the herbicides. Apparently, a really big offender is the flea and tick medicine that people give to their dogs and cats, because there are so many dogs and cats.
Yeah, true. Guilty.
Well, I mean, you know, it's quite problematic because this stuff doesn't have a half-life. And when you throw away the empty capsule or the cat goes out and poops in the garden or whatever, this insecticide is there permanently. And it is devastating. And you know, these are just the little indicators that have actually been discovered, and only very recently, because you know, a lot of scientists they haven't got the funding because they depend on either military funding or corporate funding, and of course those people aren't particularly interested in insects or how nature's getting on. So I think again we have to sort of try and sensitize ourselves to what is occurring, and make friends with the creepy crawlies and the microbes, with everything, and you know, see ourselves as custodians, as you know, people who can pay attention and can take extra care.
Yep. And one last question, because the Invisible Forest started as an homage almost to the ancient trees and the big trees. Can you say, if you have one, what's your favorite tree? What kind of tree is your favorite tree and why?
I don't know if I could say I've got an absolute favourite.
Or one of your favourites.
I could tell you that I don't like eucalyptus.
Oh, bless.
Because of the devastation
I know what you mean.
In Portugal especially. Non-indigenous, completely silent, go on for thousands of square kilometres. They don't support any single living thing. In contrast, not my favourite, because I love them all, but the English oak, I don't know what you would call it in Portugal.
It's an oak. We have many oaks in Portugal, so it would be hard to say.
Oak, don't you?
The English oak.
The palm oak, which is evergreen.
Yeah.
The English oak, I don't know, but it's deciduous. It's not the evergreen type.
Thank you, cameraman Tiago.
That one.
Yes.
It actually supports
that's my favorite tree.
Most other microbes and other organisms. I can't remember the exact figure, but it's thousands, going all the way down to the microscopic, all the way up to insect life and bird life.
It's like a tree of life.
It's like a tree of life. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. And again, this is because it is so native. It's been there for thousands, if not tens of thousands of years, and with it have grown the biosphere around it, which it supports and it's very symbiotic with. So I love that one. It's very beautiful. You know, it's the classic kind of strong tree, you know, throughout history and myth. The wood is absolutely fantastic for, you know, all sorts of things. Oak is, I suppose it's up there. But then I like yew trees as well. In Britain, they're very traditional in churchyards, possibly to make the longbows, the famous longbows that Robin Hood had. So very symbolic on that. And they can live for thousands of years. They only discovered this recently as well. I think very much like the olive trees, so you have the mother core tree, which will kind of rot and die with time, but the outer living part spreads and breaks up into smaller trees, but it's all part of the same organism. And I can't remember the oldest ones in Britain, but I have been to visit some of these ancient woodlands, and at the very core you've got this sort of, you know, very kind of circular, very interesting sort of mother area, and then you've got all the sort of the spread of the population out, and it's the same organism. So this is beautiful, and of course it's very toxic. as well, which I'm also quite
Yew.
drawn
What is
to.
yew tree? I have to check it out in Portuguese.
Yeah, I mean,
Cameraman, where's the yew tree?
and it's also connected with the dead for some reason and
I
regeneration.
think it's teixo, maybe.
I don't know if that's a pagan thing.
Isn't
or
it
it's a Christian
teixo?
thing,
Yew, I think it might be teixo.
or one of these.
It's a very
Christian-
toxic one, right?
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah, it is teixo, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you know that tejo, tagas, apparently ancient words comes from teixo, because apparently it was all full of yew trees around these areas of the tejo.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's obviously speaking.
Yeah. But that's another conversation for the next series. Great, thank you.